and welcome to this week's edition of Random Shit, Random Guy. As always, I am your host, Phil, and it has been a while since you have saw and heard my voice here on YouTube. That's right, I have been under extreme technical difficulties. First, my board messed up, then my computer messed up. So I got the board working. It was a driver issue, no problem. Then my computer sounded like it was going to take off into space. We took care of that problem as we have purchased a new computer. As you can see, I'm trying out the attached camera. I never use that, but for some reason it looks a little better than the one I had before. If you guys leave it in the comments, let me know which one you liked better, the one before or this one. I feel this one's a little bit crisper. So I'm going to give that a try. But we've had a lot going on. It's been a couple months since you guys have heard me, but we got a computer back. So our plans is to be back in the fold weekly. This is kind of a test run, a dry run, just kind of get caught up, what's going on, what stories are big. And then our plan is to return back to our Thursday schedule starting this week. So you guys will get 2 videos from me this week. Hopefully the trend will be like a main podcast, maybe a smaller video moving forward. But as of right now, Thursday video, and we'll see what the rest of the week brings. If you guys have been keeping up with the YouTube, this is actually the second video this week that we have posted. But before we get into any more details, like, subscribe, and follow. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. But most importantly, hit subscribe and share this with your friends. Tell your friends, hey, go follow this page as we're trying to grow it, as we're trying to build an audience, it's a slow climb. We've got a lot of help from our shorts. We got a ton of shorts from our indie shows we've been going to. We've attended a couple shows since we podcasted last. I went to 2 Appalachian Mountain Wrestling shows, a traditional wrestling show. So I'm attempting to hit at least one event a month, whether it be an indie show, a signing, something. I want to bring you guys something different each and every month. But this week on the channel, if you guys look, you saw that I attended the Appalachian Mountain Wrestling press conference this week. That press conference took place at the Corbin Arena, which is right next door to me. It's like 15-20 minutes max from my house. And I saw that they were running a press conference, and I got the invite saying, hey, podcasters are welcome. You're more than welcome to come. So I came and I checked it out. Thank you, Kyle Maggard, for the invite on that. So I was at the press conference. Like I said, it took place this past, I think it was last Tuesday. It was April the 1st. I think it was April 1st. It was April Fool's Day. They announced that they are going to be running a super show at the Corbin Arena on August the 22nd. This is going to be a big event, as they are going to be calling it the Super Bowl of Wrestling. Super Bowl of Wrestling is going to take place in the Corbin Arena. This is the first independent show to ever run at the Corbin Arena. It is not the first wrestling show. If you guys are not from the area, this arena, it's a 7,000 seat arena. It has been the home of WWE Live when they come through. AEW ran a House Rules show. TNA has ran there prior to in the Impact days. So this building, I want to say maybe 10, 15 years old now. So it's still a younger building in the history of this area, but it is a very nice building. They run concerts there every week. I've saw a couple concerts there. I saw Puddle of Mud there. So it's a really nice venue. They are planning on running a super show, and it's going to take place at the Corbin Arena. And included in the super show will be a convention taking place the same day. They plan on running tables around the upper area. If you've ever been to a WWE show, they put the merch booth up in the upper area where kind of like it like circles around the building. So they're going to use that area for convention space, as well as the horseshoe of the floor, which is kind of like the back half, so that you'll come up the stairs and there'll be booths up top, and then you go down, and then that's where your bigger name celebrities are going to be. So you start out, you shop, and then when you get done, you go down, you get your autographs, and then later on at the end of the night, there will be a super show, which they are deeming as the biggest independent wrestling event in the state of Kentucky. So that's pretty cool to see that they are going to be running such a big show in basically my backyard. So that's really cool for me. I'm not have to travel, so that's a plus. Plus, it's a really big thing. Like, there's never been a wrestling convention of this magnitude attempted in this area, that's for sure. We do have like smaller conventions. We do have the Corbin Con, which takes place, I want to say it's like 2 weeks from now. So Corbin Con, it takes place in the Civic Center, which is where AMW, sorry, Appalachian Mountain Wrestling traditionally would run. But now they're going to be moving across town to the Corbin Arena. And to christen this event, they made a huge announcement that Carl Anderson and Doc Anderson, the Good Brothers, formerly of WWE fame, TNA fame, New Japan, hell, if there's an organization out there, they've been there. And the Good Brothers are coming back to Appalachian Mountain Wrestling. Now, this is not the first time these guys have been to the state. I want to say they were here earlier this year. I know they've done a couple of the bigger shows. They did a show in Lexington that got snowed out, but then got rescheduled in January. I want to say it was January, February, around that time frame. So, but they'll be returning August 22nd. Now, Appalachian Mountain Wrestling does have a couple shows. They have a big show coming up next weekend in Breathitt County called Bloody Breathitt. Tickets are still available and on sale right now, so go check that out if you have a chance to be in the area, as they are always growing and would love to have you guys there. They have two big stars at this next show, as Rhino returns to Appalachian Mountain Wrestling with his WWE tag team partner, Heath Slater. Heath and Rhino will be tagging this Saturday, April the 11th, or next Saturday, April the 11th, at Breathitt County High School in Jackson, Kentucky, at the Old Breathitt Arena. Old Breathitt Gym, I believe is what it is. Like I said, tickets are available. You can check them out at appalachianmountainwrestling.com or Appalachian Mountain Wrestling on all the socials. I'm really excited for this. I knew when I was going to the press conference, you wouldn't be having it here if you're not running the show. But when they said they're running a convention with the show, that took it to another level for me. I'm excited to see what kind of vendors do come to the show. I'm excited to see not only what kind of vendors, but what kind of national acts are able to come into this small area of southeastern Kentucky to put on a show. Like I said, this isn't the first time wrestling has been in the arena. The most recent show is probably, I don't think anybody's been there since AEW ran House Rules. And I was at that show. WWE might have been back once, but they've done away with their house show business. So that gives these smaller promotions an opportunity to run these bigger buildings that might not have always been available to them. Because AEW doesn't run house shows anymore. TNA doesn't run house shows anymore. And WWE doesn't run the house shows anymore. So no house shows leaves these venues wanting wrestling. And what better way to do it than with your local independent promotions? And Appalachian Mountain Wrestling and Kyle Maggard and Lemon Juice Jones are planning on taking over the Corbin Arena August 22nd. Now, that's what's been going on with me. Like I said, I've been trying to hit up some independent shows. I hit one in November, one in March, and then I went to one in like December. So not bad. I think I only missed January and February where I didn't hit some form of event. This month is a little bit busy, as I did hit the press conference. I want to try and hit up Bloody Breath it next week. But you also have AEW Dynasty coming up on the 12th. And then the weekend after is Wrestlemania. So it's a busy month to be a wrestling fan. So I'm really excited for that. But let's get into the bigger shows. Let's talk AEW. The biggest news in AEW this week is the return of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho made his AEW Dynamite return in his hometown of Winnipeg after being off television for over a year. Now, many people, including myself, expected Chris Jericho to be in WWE at this point. I'm going to be honest. I thought he'd be gone. I did not expect Jericho to be back in AEW. Now, Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp did report earlier this year that his contract had been froze. I'm not sure if there has been an extension to the contract or if it's the end of the original contract. All I know is Chris Jericho is back, and it was like a fart in the wind. He's in his hometown having to beg people to chant him. AEW is better off without Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho, more importantly, is better off without AEW. That being said, I guess Chris doesn't see it that way. I have always been a Chris Jericho fan, but Chris Jericho has way past ran his course in All Elite Wrestling. Now, was he important to the start? Fuck yes, he was. Now, you could not have had AEW without Chris Jericho. He was the star. That's why they made him the first champion. Like, yeah, you had Cody, but Cody wasn't Cody Rhodes that he is today. Cody was just Cody because he couldn't even be Cody Rhodes at that point. The Bucks were indie darlings. They were all New Japan guys. They were all Ring of Honor guys, but they were not national television guys. But when Chris Jericho originally showed up at All In and then later signed with All Elite Wrestling, he put them on the map. Now, did he run his course? I think so. I think he did everything he needed to do in AEW. I don't think that he helped a lot of the guys that he was with. He originally had the Inner Circle, which at this point, none of the original members, half of the original members aren't even with AEW anymore. Jake Hager is gone. Pride and Powerful, they have split up. Santana is in TNA now. Ortiz is teaming on ROH, so that did not help them. And then Sammy Guevara, who was originally considered a pillar of this company, you never see him, and when you do, he's on Ring of Honor. So the Inner Circle did not benefit from being with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho benefited from them, but not vice versa. And then he went on to create the Jericho Appreciation Society. And in that, you had 2.0, which were just coming in from NXT. They were pretty hot, and now they're not even on television. Anna Jay, not really benefiting from that. Tom Ello, not really benefiting from that. Again, Sammy Guevara, not benefiting from that. And then he moved on to the Learning Tree. And once the Learning Tree come around, you had Big Bill, who was from the WWE, formerly Big Cass, and Brian Keith. And neither one of those guys benefited. They benefited by being on television with Chris Jericho, but the second Chris Jericho was gone, where are they? No one knows. They're not on television. And it makes no fucking sense. Like, Brian Keith was considered one of the top independent stars when he signed him. Great on mic, good on television, great wrestler. The Chris Jericho effect has fucked so many guys that long term, fans are sick of him. Now, had Break the Walls Down hit this year at WrestleMania, fans would have lost their shit. Because WWE fans, a lot of them don't watch AEW to know what has been going on. They just know, oh shit, it's Chris Jericho. But AEW fans are like, man, get him off our TV. He doesn't even have like heat. He has go away heat. And that's not the kind of heel heat you want. Now, I'm hoping he can turn it around because it seems like he is going to turn down the opportunity to go do a farewell tour with WWE. Like, a lot of people thought you were going to see him at the Rumble. And then around that time, Fightful announced that his contract was froze. People were hopeful for Mania, and then people were even more hopeful for the Saudi Mania. But it doesn't look like you're going to get Chris Jericho back in the WWE possibly ever. I don't know if it's financials. I don't know if it's I don't understand why we are where we are, but I do know that as of right now, Chris Jericho's back, and that's really all we know. Like, I get it. You wanted to return in his hometown, but you've got a pay-per-view next week. Like, wouldn't it have been more shocking if he, like, debuted there? Instead, he had some weird pyro go off, interrupt a contract signing. The fans kind of sung Judas, and then after that, it was like, okay, all right, what are you going to say? And then he goes pillar to pillar, begging them to cheer him. And the fans just kind of were like, okay, yay. It was so awkward. It was like almost 10 minutes of nothing for him to say, AEW, Winnipeg, I'm home. That is it. That's all he said. And then he left. No returns, no nothing. And it just, a year off television, you expect more than that. Like, you really do. You expect some kind of heat, some kind of, I don't know what you expect, but you expect something more than just, I'm home, and then not get involved in anything. Like, as of right now, you have no clue what he's planning on doing. He may not even show up at the pay-per-view. Like, I guess we're waiting on Wednesday, but it's like you are days before your second pay-per-view of the year. Or is it third? Anyways, you're days away from AEW Dynasty, and you have no plans for Chris Jericho. So why'd you bring him back? Because it didn't sell more tickets. It actually got a lower rating than normal. And you put that at the beginning of the show, so if like people was going to watch, they see that and they turn it off, and then you're like, he's not the demo god anymore. He's not the learning tree. I don't know. He's calling himself the cornerstone now. So like, he's had a lot of misses. Like, he used to be the shit with everything he did. The List, Y2J. But the Painmaker was painful. The Learning Tree was miserable. So it's like, at this point, I think I would rather just see Chris Jericho retire if he's not going to go try it somewhere else. I think it could work at WWE. Fresh coat of paint, do your farewell tour, maybe do a match at AAA, TNA. He's never been to TNA. He's never been to AAA. He did CMLL. He's done New Japan. So, like, that would have been two new things he could have done under the WWE umbrella. And Gunther could have took him out and retired him just like Gunther did to Cena, like he did to AJ. And he could have got that WWE Hall of Fame induction and just went off into the sunset. It doesn't seem like that's something he wants to do. He wants to keep wrestling. Now, I wonder if WWE wasn't willing to let him keep his podcast or wasn't willing to let him do the dates that he wanted to do with Fozzy. Now, who knows? But I will say this. They're willing to work with a lot of other people. Like Matt Cardona still has his other business. You know, he still has Collect Major. He still does the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Like, if they're letting him do that stuff, Chris Jericho's a bigger name. It's going to bring in more eyes. So wouldn't you want Chris Jericho to do more with Fozzy and that under the WWE umbrella, so that wouldn't really play a hindrance? And TNA would have loved it. AAA would have loved it. But instead, he's back with WWE. And I don't know how that helps them. I really don't. But that's not the only return that happened this week for AEW. You also had the return of Hikaru Shida, former two-time AEW Women's World Champion, returned to Collision answering Willow Nightingale's open challenge. This was her first appearance on AEW television since November of 2024. Now, I do understand that I want to say there was a small injury time, and then they had some visa problems. But that visa stuff has been fixed for a while, from what I have heard. So where the fuck has she been? And she looked good. I mean, Sheeta always puts on a good match. I wonder, the American audience doesn't like a lot of the Joshi wrestling. And I can't say that I'm as excited about it. Like, I do like Julia, but I don't like what WWE is doing with Julia. So it's tough. It's like Japanese women can't get a shot because they don't get pushed right. But in AEW, they do get pushed right. But then once they get pushed, then it's like, oh, my bad, and you're gone. So it's like, that's been a problem with AEW for a while, is they bench people for so long that you forget about them. And it's like, how do you fix that problem? Well, you keep them on television. Now, you do have a huge roster. That is a blessing and a curse. You get to rotate through people. You get to have new talent on the show. It keeps people fresh. But that's been a year and 4 or 5 months, maybe a year and a half, that Hikaru Shida has been off television. You can't do that. That is too fucking long. Hikaru Shida needs to return, and she did, and she had a great match, and I'm excited to see if they maybe put her on the 0 hour, work her into some sort of program. I personally think, like, it's really weird to be doing returns 2 weeks before your pay-per-view. That just seems weird to me, because you can't build anything. And I get it. Dynasty is not as big of a show. That was the smallest run that they probably have all year between shows. So it's like, could you get away with not doing it? Yeah. I mean, it would make sense. It's like, you could have had her return on Sunday on the 12th instead of on this past week's Collision, which was a show that most people didn't. Collision doesn't get the viewership that Dynamite gets. So you had the return happen on the B show on a night that wasn't its normal night because it got moved from the Final Four. I don't know. But let's talk about WWE Wrestlemania. Tickets for Wrestlemania have been slowly moving. Let's see if we can find WrestleTick's latest sales. WrestleMania 43 ticket sales. So it has been a slow climb. 2 days ago, they are 18% behind where they were this point for WrestleMania 41. So WrestleMania 42, they are 18% behind where they were for WrestleMania 41. And their way of doing that is celebrity wrestlers. They are not banking on John Cena. Well, they are banking on John Cena, but what I was going to say is they're not banking on Cody Rhodes versus. They're not banking on Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Sorry, brain fart. They're not banking on that. They're not banking on CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. Like, they're betting on guys like Jelly Roll and I Show Speed, and now they're banking on the return of Pat McAfee. Now, I love Pat McAfee. Sorry about that. Pat McAfee was one of my favorite celebrity commentators that they've had in a while. He does great work. I like the show. Huge fan of his work. He's done some great babyface promos. But this was not the place for Pat McAfee. Now, if you guys don't know, Pat McAfee returned on SmackDown this week, as he has been the man on the other side of the phone with Randy Orton. What? And on top of that, like they stooged it off. Like they had a poll where who was on the other side of the line, WWE.com, and one of the names was Pat McAfee. And everybody joked. They're like, yeah, it's Pat McAfee. Ha. Well, it was fucking Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee returned to SmackDown, and he attacks Cody Rhodes and gives the worst heel promo that I've heard in a long time. He's attacking, hey, ticket sales are got down right now. It's because of you. We had the worst episode of SmackDown last week. Because of you. You guys are small. Randy Orton's the best. Like, I get it. You need... Randy Orton didn't need anybody. But he sure as the fuck didn't need Pat McAfee. And now Pat McAfee's going to be in his corner probably going into WrestleMania. I really hope that means Jelly Roll is not going to be in the corner of Cody Rhodes. Like, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And the Pat McAfee heel turn has been so... I want to, like, there's still 2 more weeks. It could work. But fuck that debut as the heel turner. Like, why? You couldn't come up with somebody else. Like, you were in Randy Orton's hometown. It couldn't have been Cowboy Bob. That would have made sense. I would have rather you brought back Ted DiBiase Jr. from fresh off his I'm Not Going to Jail tour than Pat McAfee. Like, the air just kind of went out of the fucking show at that point, and that's what kicked you off. Like, and Pat's been, cutting promos about how they're there to save WrestleMania, and if Randy Orton doesn't win the title, he'll never return to the WWE. Now, I think Randy is going to beat Cody. No matter what they do, Cody's getting booed. I think Pat McAfee and Randy Orton could punt a baby into the audience, and they're going to cheer for him. He has stone cold Steve Austin vibes of he's the heel, but they love him. And Cody has main evented 3 WrestleManias at this point. I think it's time to give Cody a break. Now, that being said, I'm a huge fucking Cody fan. You look over my shoulder, I got a fucking bottle of Cody vodka. His dad's right behind me. I'm a huge Dusty fan. Like, I love Cody Rhodes. But maybe it's time to take a step back. Maybe it's time for Randy to get 15. Let him have a run. Maybe develop somebody newer when he loses the title. And give Cody not a break, but give the fans a break from Cody. I love Cody Rhodes. I don't want him to turn heel. He sells so much merch for kids, but it's like, at what point do you go, maybe we need something fresh? And now this is the Triple H WWE, so like fresh doesn't mean shit. It's like, oh yeah, you got to be 65 years old to be the champion. Like, pushing young guys is something they don't do. You got Roman Reigns, his whole fucking selling point after CM Punk said, I'm going to put you in the ground next to your father, is you're old. Like, what kind of comeback is that? Like, yeah, let's point out the fact that we have a 50-year-old champion, and we're likely to have another one when Randy Orton wins the title. Like, the good thing about Randy is a fucking beast on the mic. He can be a heel. He can be a babyface. He can sell tickets. He can get booed and still get cheered. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Randy Orton can hold that title and should hold that title and has held that title. But my complaint is, like, you're trying to build up WrestleMania, and the best you fucking got is Pat McAfee? You could have done better. And it's like they didn't think it out, or I feel like WWE under Hunter has been the least prepared, or like I feel like they're doing plan D instead of plan A, because they're like, oh, well, let's try this or let's try that. And it's like, well, that won't work, or that person can't be here, or I don't understand it. And like Unreal makes them look so fucking bad. Like, you just had Road Dogg quit, and Road Dogg wasn't great, but at least he was advocating for younger talent and different people. And I feel like every person that Road Dogg liked was getting shit on even more. Like, he loved Chelsea Green, and Chelsea had to fight to get on the show, and when she did, she lost most of the time. And then you got them saying on Unreal she's not a Charlotte Flair, and she's not meant to be. She could be if you built her that way. Now I get it. Road Dogg wanted to fucking push the hell out of R-Truth because they're friends, but it's like, yeah, that R-Truth should be there, but he doesn't have to be. But it's good to have him around for morale. He's a good entertainment, and now you don't really need him as much because you have Danhausen, which, fuck yeah, Danhausen has killed it. I knew he would. Like, I met Danhausen at an independent show near Huntsville, Alabama for New South Wrestling, and I was a fan before, but after meeting him, I fell in love. Like, he's one of my favorite independent wrestlers. Like, he's awesome. I saw him at Toy Ho. Like, he is a fucking star, and AEW dropped the ball so bad with him that I'm excited to see what WWE is going to do with him. He's yet to have a match, which I think is good. You know, you're introducing him still. You're showing what he can do. He's cursing people left and right. He cursed ISHO Speed. He's cursed Kit Wilson, The Miz, Dominic Mysterio, and every person he's cursed, they've lost or something's happened. Like, for instance, ISHO Speed got cursed, and Danhausen's like, he's like, uncurse me, and Danhausen's like, give me your viewers and your money, and ISHO Speed's like, no. And then ISHO Speed on SmackDown goes to help, he thinks, the Usos, and he ends up hitting LA Knight, who is friends with the Usos like now, I guess. And then on top of that, he drops the brass knuckles, which gets him to Logan Paul, which costs the Usos the title. And then the Usos then the vision of Logan Paul and I don't even remember who he's with now. Austin. Yeah. The Vision is celebrating with him. And after that happened, ISHO Speed has shown up on, if you don't know who ISHO Speed is, he's a streamer, and he makes all his money off doing like weird shit on streams. Well, he's doing a stream, and all of a sudden LA Knight shows up and attacks him on his own stream. And then now ISHO Speed showed up to an event, I want to say yesterday, that he was hosting in a sling with Band-Aids on his face. So, like, he fucking gets it. But they're setting up for this to be Celebrity Mania. Now, WrestleMania was originally very celebrity heavy. You know, the first one had Cyndi Lauper. You had Mr. T. Like, celebrities have always been a part of WrestleMania. But this year, it is extreme. Like, you've got Pat McAfee working with Randy Orton. You got Jelly Roll, who's been involved in the Randy Orton story, but he's also been involved and had a match with Kit Wilson. Jelly Roll has been training. He trained with one of the Appalachian Mountain Wrestlers, actually. Shout out to Murphy Costigan, getting old Jelly Roll ready. And then you got ISHO Speed getting involved. So, like, celebrities are going to be a part of this year's Mania. There's even rumors to as far as the fact that Tom Brady might get involved with this year's WrestleMania. Now, will Tom Brady get in the ring and have a match? Hell no. But he has been talking a lot of shit. And I don't think that's not intentional. I think they're in the arena that he's part owner of. He's part owner of the Raiders. They're in Las Vegas again. I think he's going to show up. And how I think he's going to show up is John Cena announced that he will be hosting WrestleMania. Now, that come as a bit of a shock for me and several others because John Cena just retired in December. And it's like, you made such a big deal, but we all know ticket sales are not great. They are 18% behind where they were this time last year for the same fucking city. Now the ticket prices are higher. We are in a worse economy, and they went to the same city, so that does not help their case any at all. Let's face it, that does not help them. That being said, John Cena being added could help boost tickets a little bit. Now, I do think it's a little too soon. It's hard to miss somebody when they're right there. Like, you haven't seen AJ Styles since he retired. That being said, you are going to see AJ Styles at WrestleMania because he's going into the Hall of Fame. You haven't seen John Cena since his match. That being said, he popped up on socials saying, hey, Hollywood's close to Vegas, and I'm in a road, and we just happen to be on the road to WrestleMania, so I'm going to come host WrestleMania. Now, WrestleMania hosts are not a new thing. They're usually celebrities, which that's what John Cena is now. Sometimes they're wrestlers, like when you're The Miz, but now it's John Cena. I don't have a problem with him hosting. I actually don't give a shit either way. I am kind of bummed out that he's back already. And I get it. He is the, in case of emergency, break glass. You fucking break the glass and you bring in John Cena. But at what point does that stop working? If you keep doing the same thing over and over, fans are not going to give a shit. So it might help this year's WrestleMania. But I was hoping that we would go 8 months to a year without seeing John. I would have loved to have not seen John Cena in 2026. If you were going to see him and he was going to be at Mania, why didn't you just put him in the Hall of Fame? Like, this was the year to do it. Him and AJ could have went in, whatever. It was too soon for either one of them, but you could have just done it if you're going to have him host. He was going to be in Vegas. It just would have made a little bit more sense. And I get it. They're hoping that he's going to sell more tickets. Now, WWE did reach out in February and say, hey, John, can you host? Because he's doing a movie right now. So they had to work that into his schedule. He's making a movie for Netflix, which ties in with Synergy. Raw's on Netflix. They got a movie coming out in August. You want your star on a big show that's on Netflix internationally and on ESPN in America. John Cena is hosting WrestleMania. Oh yeah, he has a movie coming out in August. So like, this helps the movie company. It helps WWE sell more tickets. John Cena needs to disappear after this for a while. I know he wants to be a part of it. He wants to be an ambassador for the company, but maybe give it a break and let it breathe. Just give it a few minutes, see how things go. But he is hosting. I don't expect them to do a lot, but the one thing I do expect to see is Tom Brady talking shit and John Cena giving him an attitude adjustment. I could see that. He's not going to give him an F5. He's a retired athlete, but like, he's talking too much shit on the fanatic stuff. He's doing it. He's going out of his way to say stuff for a reason. I think this is the time that if you're going to bring in Tom Brady for something, you have him work with John Cena, another celebrity, but a professional wrestler who can help out both guys. It's a match made in heaven. That's the way you handle that. But that's all I got for this week, guys. I want to keep this one short, sweet, and under an hour. But I do want to remind you guys, make sure you like this podcast. Hit that subscribe button. That is the number one thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. We are just like 10 people away from 100. Trying to get to our first goal is 500 subscribers. Then our next goal is 1,000. So help us get to 500. We're like 410 away. It's a long fucking way. Hopefully we can get there in the next couple months. And I do think us being very active on here is going to help that. So make sure you subscribe to the page, like this video, share this video. If you got some hot points, give us some fucking hot points. We'll take what you got. If you're not already, follow us on social media. I'm going to put the banner up right now. We are on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook at RSRG Podcast and RSRG Entertainment on Facebook. We are most active on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is more of just shorts from the podcast and shorts from like wrestling events, stuff like that. But we're most active on our Instagram at RSRG Podcast. As you guys know, as you can see behind me, I am a toy collector, so I post a lot of photo photography of some of my collections, stuff like that. But we will be back this Thursday at 8 p.m. And we're going to be talking about Raw and Dynamite this week, as well as give our last second predictions and previews that are available at that time. Because if there's one thing we know about AEW shows, they're going to make an announcement on Saturday that's going to keep fucking changing the show. But I'm going to give my Dynasty predictions on Thursday. So come over for that if you are wanting to see what we got going on. Check us out there. But that's all I got for this week, guys. I do want to thank you guys for hanging out with me and watching the show. And I want to thank everybody who has already subscribed and follows us on the socials. And more important, like I said, like, subscribe, and hit that video. New videos will be out each and every week. We will be back Thursday. Look for shorts on this page as well, and like and share those as well. But that is all I have for this week. I will see you on Thursday. If there's something crazy happens before then, I will be back. I plan on being very active from this point on. But thank you guys for watching, and I am out.